right, welcome everybody to the Friday night FST Improv Interview. My name is Will Luera. I'm the Director of Improvisation here at Florida Studio Theater in Sarasota, Florida. And we're back from our holiday hiatus. We're going back to our regular weekly virtual shows. For those of you new to FST, we have 5 regular shows that we do from Thursday through Saturday. On Thursday night at 9:15 p.m., we do Impro Latinx, Spanish-speaking improv with improvisers from all over Latin America and the world, all improv in Spanish. At 7 o'clock on Fridays, we do the FST Improv Interviews, which you are watching right now. At 8 o'clock, we have a rotating show. We doing different showcases. Tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to be doing our FST Improv House Party, featuring some of our house teams, which are some of the newer groups here in the Sarasota area. Some have adapted over to the virtual world and have started to do shows. So you'll be able to see them tonight at 8 o'clock. And then on Saturdays at 7 o'clock on Instagram, we have Radio Call-In Live, where you get to call in with your wackiest characters and bits. As we do a subject. The subject for tomorrow is working out, exercise. So if you have a character or a bit that you'd like to try out, come over Instagram at FST Improv, Instagram.com/FST Improv, or go on the app and you could call in and show us your character. And then on Saturdays at 8, we also have improv that we will showcase over our Facebook page. So lots of virtual stuff going on, but it's really exciting to be back into our weekly schedule. For the FST Improv Interview, as you know, these are interviews that we do with improv leaders, teachers, performers, directors from around the world. And today I'm very excited to welcome this guest. So I've gotten to, we crossed paths once. Maybe we could talk about when exactly that was in a little bit. But then we've really been interacting quite a bit over the last few weeks. We're part of a weekly discussion on Wednesday nights, which some of you have watched and supported. This is the Anti-Racism for Comedy Folks forum that we do through Socially Distant Improv. And then we've been interacting as well on a variety of other discussions and projects that are coming up and that might come up later. But without further ado, let's welcome her here to the Zoom room. Let's hear it from the Black Improv Alliance, Stephanie Rae. All right, welcome, Stephanie.
Hello.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you. So you are, and I know some of our folks know this, but just to let everybody else know, you are in Miami, Florida.
Yes.
And we were talking about this earlier, originally out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and then eventually found your way down to Miami. What brought you down? What brought you down to our state?
I followed a man.
Oh,
It didn't work out, but that's how I got here.
But yeah. you're still here. Now, what do you think about Florida? What do you think about the weather? I mean, I'm originally from Chicago and then Boston, so it's been quite a transition for me.
Okay, good. So I can be honest, since you're not from here.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan. I think it's weird to wear t-shirts in the summer. Palm trees at Christmas irritate me, and it's just so far away from everything. Like in Pennsylvania, you can get in your car and be in another state in 3 hours, like several different states. You have to drive 10 hours to get out of Florida. It's a whole day before you've even started to get anywhere.
Especially where you are. You're all the way at the tip.
Yes.
Oh my. Yeah. It's now has your, like they say, has your blood thinned out yet?
Does that mean am I unable to tolerate the cold now?
Yeah, like if it gets to like 50 degrees, you're like, oh wow, this is.
Yes, actually, like last year when I was home in Pennsylvania was the first time I really felt like, okay, I've gone soft. Like I can't handle it anymore. And it's terrible. I'm like, what happened to the old Stephanie who could go for a walk in 45 in a hoodie like it was nothing? Not anymore.
Right? Like I remember like my first year here, like it got into the low 60s or high 50s, and I was like, oh, it's so cold. And I'm like, Will, you used to wear shorts. Like when it was in the high 40s, you would just go, like you said, a hoodie and some shorts, and I'd walked out to the grocery store.
Yeah. I've become one of the people I used to make fun of. It's terrible.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your improv background. Did you started improvising in Pennsylvania?
Actually in DC.
Okay.
So I started during my third year of law school in DC and did classes for a year with the Washington Improv Theater. And then I moved to Miami after that. And since then, most of my training, I guess, has been here. I worked for a while with a group called Impromedy. Did some training with them, and then they disbanded and were like, everybody just form your own groups. So we were like, okay. And I formed a team with some people, and we did bad bar prov for a while and learned a lot by doing. So my improv education has been relatively non-traditional, in that I have studied with a lot of people who have studied at the big Chicago theaters, but I've never
Sure.
done anyone's level program myself. It's been a lot of like, I have a mentor, I'm studying with this person, I'm in this group that's run by someone who really knows what they're doing. I'm spending a summer in LA going to Second City drop-ins every week. I'm taking workshops with, as many people as I can find, but it's been a collective of a lot of different voices, which I actually have really enjoyed because I don't have any loyalty to a certain style. I see value in all of them and have sort of put together my own flavor out of that.
I am a big fan of that approach. And I was actually just thinking about this earlier today. I was listening to a different podcast, and they were talking about some of the international improv scenes. And one of the things that I've appreciated about the international improv scenes is that they've kind of, because they didn't have access to the big improv schools, they kind of just created it on their own. They're like, okay, I want to do that. How am I going to do that? And then they've created their own exercises, their own things. And so I'm a big fan of like, of putting it together on your own, understanding it on your own, and then excelling on your own without feeling beholden to like an institution. Because I think that could be dangerous if we're all like, we've got to do the 5, 6 levels of this school, right? No, it's like I think that just then you're a factory putting out the same improvisers.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's awesome. Very, very, very cool to hear that. Now, now there's something I want to talk about improv. Like all of these interviews, we start by talking about an improv thing. But let me begin by also asking this question. And there's no judgment either way, and there shouldn't be judgment on this one. But do you like short form, long form, musical? What is your flavor?
Musical is my heart,
Yeah.
and always will be. I really enjoy both short and long form. I particularly like, though, the way that long form can have short form inside of it while also exploring narratives. I think long form, I don't want to say long form done well. Long form in the way that I like to do it doesn't have to be two people staring at each other in a room for 45 minutes. You can have multiple things and you can have games and you can insert short form right into it. And I actually kind of like to merge them.
Yeah, I'm glad. Wow, we're like clicking onto so many things here. Yes, I'm a big fan of that as well. I don't know if you've seen the group that I direct called Big Bang, and a big part of what we do
Yes.
is it will inject whenever it's possible. We will inject a little bit of short form into the long form. We're like, okay, in the middle of this long form scene, wouldn't it be great if I just looked at the audience and asked them to lay something onto the scene, right? Like, could I have an emotion? Can I get a genre? Whatever, right? And then we'll just sort of just layer it into our long form scene, and then we'll go back on our merry way. So yes, I'm a big fan of integrating it and instead of like keeping it apart, why not have fun together? Cool. Now, the topic I wanted to talk about today, improv wise, is the idea of the start of the scene, the beginning of the scene, right? You walk on stage, and you're the first person on stage, and so I'm gonna look at two parts of this. One is, you are the first person on stage. What is your goal? What is your advice? What do you like to see when you are that first person on stage to help set up the scene for others? And then I'm also gonna flip that, right? What is when you are on the other side, like when you're watching somebody and you're coming in, like what are your goals, what are your intentions, etc. we'll address both of them separately. And I'm also going to ask our audience members that if they want to add anything as well, ask any questions of you, they could put that into the comments as well, which I'll be tracking. But let's start with
Awesome.
that. You are walking out on stage. You come out. What is something that you think is important when either teaching or performing yourself?
I love big initiations. So somebody can come out folding laundry and that's fine, and I'm thinking like, okay, where is this going to go? But my preference is like, you're folding laundry and you're saying to yourself, when that man gets home, I'm going to ask him about this lipstick I keep finding on his collar. Tonight is the night.
While folding, and I like how that emotion, the way what you just said, that emotion informed the way you were folding the laundry. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. Now that's good. Now that's a big start. That's great because if I'm off stage and I'm watching that, I know I have a very clear idea of what you want out of this scene. Like you telegraphed, like, boom, hey everyone, this is the world I'm creating. Come in and come in and play. Or if I'm your scene partner, right, and I know what I know what I need to do as well, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to either be the man walking in or whatever, or I could be your friend that is helping you fold laundry and seeing you go into this, right? Good. Yeah, I like that. So, and again, just kind of noting what you just did there. High emotion, high emotion there. What do you feel? What are your thoughts on like emotion at the top of the scene? The second thing I'm going to talk about is physicality because you again went right into the folding. But emotion, like, is that a big important part of how you play?
Yes, I love a big emotion. I love big dramatic scenes. I feel like you've got, usually 25, 30 minutes. Why not jump in strong? This is not a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. So a big dramatic scene. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're not afraid to just like and just based on like the talks I've been involved in with you and your posts on social media, etc. You're not afraid to just like let's just get right in it, right?
Yeah.
Why are we gonna calmly walk into this? And it sounds like for your scenes as well, like bring that emotion in.
Yes. I don't particularly enjoy watching slow building improv. I can see the value in it and I know people who love it. Just for me, I'm like, okay, like, but what is the get to the thing? What is the get here? So that's how I play
Yeah,
because it's what I like to watch.
that's good. That's good. I like that. And is it something that comes to you now, like easily, like you get the suggestion and you're like, oh, got it. I know. Boom. I'm going right to that moment.
Yeah, the ideas come pretty quickly for me. I write also, and I love to
Okay.
read. I spend a lot of time soaked in story and narrative structure, so that's just how my brain
Ooh.
works.
Ooh. Okay. And so, and and you've already brought it up once. Do you like narrative improv? Like, do you like multiple scenes that are coming together as a story, etc., as opposed to like a montage?
Yes, I mean I do enjoy a montage as well, but I like for things to come back. I like references. I do enjoy getting to see how a thing that was set up ultimately turns out. So yeah, that's a thing I'm into.
Okay. Oh wow. No, that's great. Now your physicality, like I noted before, like you came out folding laundry right away. Is physicality big for you at the top of a scene? Like set the environment.
It has gotten to be more of something that I think about. It wasn't always, but in learning that for one, I hate dead space. I hate dead space. I hate silence. I would rather have something bombing on the stage than have an empty stage. It's just a giant pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
So, and having learned years ago, like if you don't have an idea in your head, which I usually do, but there's moments of blankness, just go out there and do something. Stand on the stage and
Mhm.
paint your nails, and I'll figure out, okay, oh, here's why I'm painting my nails. This is what's about to happen. But I'm
Yeah.
doing a thing, and so the audience has something to watch in that second or two where I'm processing the dialogue that's about to come out.
Okay, now that's important, as I said before the interview, like my students watch this, and a lot of these talks I usually will, when I get into a certain week of a certain class, I'm like, hey, before the next class, go watch this, right? And so I love what you're talking about here of, and you might not know what the scene is about, but you're gonna do something, right? And then you're going to discover it in the moment, right? So I'm gonna start painting my nails, and you are fully committed to painting to this action, and then at a certain moment, a few seconds, I'm sure, then the scene you'll start to discover the scene from this action.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, like as an example, if you're painting your nails, what is a possible scene that might emerge out of that?
I hear what you're saying, Harold, but there is no way that you're buying a boat before the mortgage is paid off.
Nice. Now, no, good. And you did another thing that I really like. And you've done it. You did it both with the laundry one, and then again with the nails thing. Now, in the laundry one, you didn't. I love. You made it about the lipstick on the clothes, but you did not make it about folding the laundry. Like you didn't start the scene by saying like, "Oh, no, so much laundry to fold," right? No, you did it. You discovered something within that. Same thing here. You didn't do it about the painting of the nails. The painting of the nails was just the action you were doing while this other scene was going on, which I think is also really important because a lot of times I'll see some of my students, like beginner students, especially when they're first getting so what I do in my curriculum is the first thing I do. A lot of the scenes at the beginning, they're just sitting, and I'm like, I don't want you to worry about the rest of your body. Just sit and emote, sit and talk. Get used to that. And then a few weeks in, we're like, okay, everybody get up, and now let's start to use our bodies. And it's funny, once that starts to come in, then all they start to talk about is about what they're doing. I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's do the action, but still remember the dialogue and the relationship. So I like how you both of these examples that you've given. I think are great. Now, outside along the lines of physicality. So we've done a little focus a little bit on object work. Do you play characters? Do you like playing characters?
I do, and I've kind of accepted at this point that they're all versions of me. Like it's
Yeah.
me as a begruntled wife. It's me as an airline pilot. I am not a person who is incredible at doing a bunch of different dramatic accents and deep physicality and impressions. And there are times when I'll lean into a little. I got a couple half decent accents, but I have accepted that my strength is in narrative and dialogue and moving a story along and remembering details. And so I just lean into that really hard, and it seems to be
Yeah.
working out okay.
Yeah. No, definitely. Now, and I can see that. I mean, I've gotten a chance to catch some of your online performances,
Oh,
and
cool.
which lines up with that with everything that you're saying. That's awesome. Now, let's flip it a little bit. All right. Now, let's say that you are the person coming in to support. Okay. So somebody else has started the scene. And they're out there and maybe they start with a line or they start with a certain bit of physicality. So flipping this, what is it that you're looking for? What is inspiring you? Again, we could imagine that you're off stage watching this and then coming in. Uh, how long does it take for you to come in and support that stage? And if so, what is it that inspires you?
I love to see a big offer so that I know how I can support what the initiator is thinking. When the offer is not clear, I sometimes find myself wondering how strong I should come out because I usually have got something very quick, but I'm
Yeah.
frequently, usually with new people, but afraid of steamrolling someone. If they're
Mhm.
going somewhere and they're getting there slowly, I don't want to come out and kill their homemade mashed potato scene with my Air Force training idea. So I'm like trying to, okay, how can I support you? But at the same time, if they don't have something and I got something, like let's go. We can get this scene lit with gas right now. Um, so it's usually a matter of getting to know people. The first time I play with someone, I'll hang back a little more because I don't want to be that person that steamrolls every scene because I have ideas quickly. But if it's
Yeah.
floundering, I will be like, all right, here's what we're gonna do, guys. Like Sister Mary
Yeah.
Claire and Sister Act 2, follow me, la la la. This is what's happening now.
Sister act reference? Yeah. Was that her name, Sister Mary
Sister
Clarence?
Mary Clarence, yeah.
Oh man, I loved Sister Act 2. I mean, I loved both of them. I was a big fan of both of them. And somebody stole my Sister Act 2 soundtrack, and I'm still kind of upset about that. Can you believe? Oh, that's so
Terrible.
funny. But I could so already just in this conversation, every example that you're just throwing off the cuff, I love them because they're bigger, they're big. I was about to say bigger than life. They're not bigger than life. They're just big. Like I love like, uh, you're starting with a mashed potato scene, and then you're gonna come in with an Air Force training scene. Like you don't want to do that, but the fact that that's where your head is at, I'm like, oh, that's great. That yeah, I mean these very you like it feels like your intuition are definitely to create these scenes that demand the audience's attention, right? The situation is big, the characters that are in it are going to demand your attention, and I love that because I'm sure that as a C part I would just be like, all right, I see it, I see the world, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to come in and play.
I
That's
think
great.
it's
Yeah.
I think it's a reflection of my strengths because I'm not a huge character person. I create big scenarios where Stephanie in this situation is still very interesting because the situation is wild. Whereas, for instance, like TJ and Dave can be playing video games, but one of them, I saw a show where one of them was this like really intense Russian guy with this big personality, and the character was so compelling that I could watch them play video games for 40 minutes.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I think you've got to have super strong characters to make grounded scenes really, really interesting. Otherwise, it's like, I just watched my actual friends have this conversation in real life. Why am I watching it in your improv show?
Love it. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Uh, let's okay, no, so this is very helpful. I think my students are going to really appreciate talking your observations and your perspectives on what we do at the top of the scene. Going a little bit more into characters, uh, is there or just premises in general? Are there scenes that you don't like to go into at the top of the scene? Like you're just like, like this is not fun for me. Right? Like this is not a space that I want to play in.
Yes, I am very conscious of anything that could turn into a racial stereotype, whether it's on purpose or not. If somebody's having a watermelon eating contest, I'm not joining that. And it could
Right.
happen very innocently and innocuously, but because I know the implications of that for me as a Black person, I'm not coming out in this scene. I'm not going to do it. You can call me and I'm
Hmm.
going to look at you like, nope. Or I'm going to
Yeah.
come out and change it dramatically. I'm not yes anding something that doesn't feel good for me. For instance, my very first musical improv showcase, I was doing a duo in the performance, and my partner started his first, he did the first verse and started it off declaring that he was a monkey. And I was like, okay, cool. And my verse started, I am the zookeeper. Like, let's be clear,
Mm.
that's a relationship. We're not monkey friends in this pen right now. And I don't think he meant a thing by it. I don't think it was to endow me as a monkey. He was a white
Hmm.
guy who didn't think twice about that suggestion was zoo. So it made sense. He didn't think twice about declaring himself as a monkey, but I was like, me as a Black person, not yes anding that. So we're going to have this relationship where I am the zookeeper. So I am thoughtful for myself of situations which could turn into something that's not going to feel good for me, even if the other person doesn't even see the potential for that.
Mm. That's a very good piece of advice that you just gave in regards to how to like pivot the scene so that it doesn't go into that space. And it's really unfortunate that as you know, as also as a person of color, right, and yourself as a person of color and a woman, right, like that sometimes you need we this extra work on us sometimes to have to be like, oh, all right, you you don't see why this is problematic. You don't see why you might be reinforcing negative stereotypes. Therefore, I'm gonna have to put in. I not only do I have to stay in character, but I also have to do the mental gymnastics of reframing this scene so that it's no longer potentially offensive, so that it's no longer reinforcing negative stereotypes, but it's still entertaining for the audience. And I
Hmm.
don't think a lot of people, uh, especially non-BIPOC people, understand that sometimes the work that goes in the back end to
Yes.
do that. Yeah, because I've definitely I just completely empathize and sympathize with that that feeling. I'm like for me as a Mexican man, a Latin man, sometimes like if the scene starts to go against something that reinforces stereotypes, like wait, why are we cleaning? Why are we like cleaners? Why are we landscapers? All right, and you might not think that it's a bad thing, but the audience, and there's some crazy people out there, they're suddenly like, yes, this reaffirms the stereotypes that I have in my head,
Hmm.
right? And then I suddenly find myself having to, kind of shake that or shift that, right? So, and this is part of, I mean, these are the kind of conversations, plug for our Wednesday show. These are the kind of some of the part of the many aspects of the how we deal with racism in the comedy world. This is just a sliver of that of the conversations that we've been having on Wednesday. Going on that, I want to shift topics to something that is really important to you and something that once the world opens up, I'm really looking forward to being engaged with you and with this a lot more. And that is the Black Improv Alliance. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Black Improv Alliance was formed out of my search for a community of Black improvisers at a time when I was going through some things where I really needed that support. And I couldn't find a group that existed like that. I was able to connect with a couple individuals in a couple small pockets, but I could not locate one central place where it was like, oh, find Black improvisers here. So we started out as a group of 4 people who were mostly a performance group, and I was still really trying to, connect with other Black improvisers all over. But since everybody has gone online and now it's just much easier, I think, to reach people because a lot of people have become more active on social media in an attempt to connect. I have been able to connect with many more Black improvisers all over the world. And so we've been able to really expand our presence and our community. We now have a team called the International Players Club, which so far has performed only online, but is a group
Mhm.
of about 20 Black improvisers who we people will pop in and out as their schedules allow, and that's just been really special. We've had a bunch of people too who have come to just guest play with us and have said, this is the first time I ever played with all Black people, and that was so special. And every time someone has that experience with us for the first time, I joke that a Black angel gets their wings, but it just really fills my little African American heart with joy. So
Like, so funny. Now, so this started before the pandemic.
yeah, so the Black Improv Alliance had existed for about a year and a half before everything, before the world shut down, but we were mostly a performance group. Then we started doing what we call Operation Black Joy, doing community service projects, just going out to serve the Black community. We did a make your own gift bag self-care buffet. We partnered with Ben and Jerry's to deliver ice cream cakes to foster families. We went out and celebrated Will Smith Appreciation Day on the 4th of July and gave people grocery store gift cards for singing the Fresh Prince song with us, and went and stood on a highway with a Black Lives Matter flag. So we really got more involved in our local community in that way. We haven't been able to do it so much now because Miami's crazy and people are not being as cautious as they should. So we're staying home more. But that was another thing that became really powerful for us and is something that we want to do more of in the upcoming year.
That is so exciting. That's great. And like some of the comments that you just paraphrased, I know that some of my friends that are now performing with you and aware of the Black Improv Alliance, like they have had similar things. I mean, you and I are both know Gooch, and he was one person who, he entered the improv community here in Sarasota, which we still have a huge uphill battle in diversifying our community. But one of the blessings, silver linings of this pandemic is that we through this he's been able to find the larger community, which is great because once we open up, he's going to have a community that he could go. He could go to practically any city and just be like, hey, let's do something together, or hey, I've done so many virtual shows with you, etc. So I think it's very exciting for him and others as well. That's just one example of the many positive comments that I've been hearing out of this. So yeah, that's great. Now, uh, tell me about? Or tell everybody else because I know about it. One of the projects that you're working on regarding Black improvisers.
Yes. So the 100 Black Improvisers Partnership is a scholarship program that we started this year, where the goal is to get 100 Black people who have not taken an improv class before to try one out. And we wanted to remove the financial barrier of paying for a class, not just for people who can't afford it, but also for Black people who can afford it, but are like, I don't know what this is, and I'm not going to spend $250 to play make believe with a bunch of grown-ups. Like, what are you talking about? And I get it because I was that person. I took my first improv class because I won a gift certificate in a silent auction for like $10 because I bid the minimum and nobody else bid. That's how I got in that room. And then I was like, I love it. Take all my little coins.
Yeah.
But without that, there was no way I was gonna pay $200 to play games with some grown-ups. Like, what are you talking about? So we're trying to just get people in the room to experience this and realize, oh, okay, this actually really is great. I do want to invest in continuing. Or, you know what, that wasn't my thing, but now I understand it. And my cousin Sheila, who's very dramatic, I need to tell her about improv. She needs to she needs to take a class. So we are trying to um, normalize this idea of what improv is, get more people into it, kind of to be, I guess, the Serena Williams of improv too, like get people to see, hey, improv is for Black folks. We are here and we're doing this, and you have a place in this community. So I started out thinking, okay, I'm going to teach I'm going to teach 5 classes of 10 students. So I'll teach 50 Black improvisers. Maybe I can get 5 or 6 theaters to partner to offer scholarships for a couple students. Right now we have 52 theaters participating around the world. So we've actually had more spaces offered than we had students to fill them. So we are emailing HBCUs and Black arts organizations around the country and just trying to get the word out that these opportunities exist. So I'm really excited. Oh, another thing that was very important to me about this is that we insist that theaters offer scholarships in groups of 5 so that students have the opportunity to have a cohort. And we're never sending one person to be the only Black person in the room. Now, sometimes they are. Sometimes we can't find 5 students for a class, but there's always the opportunity. Hey, right now, you're the only person registered for this that is going to be a Black person. If you have a friend or some cousins, like, bring them. We have spaces for them too. So people know they always have the opportunity to have a community of people who look like them as they go into these classes.
Oh, that is awesome. I love. I mean, it's so the goals are admirable and I think achievable and actionable. It's all of those things, and it's so well thought out. And I know that as a representative of 2 of those theaters, I'm very excited to be able to participate in this. I think it's so important. And one thing that you said, normalizing it is. Yeah, it's so that part's big, and I often have shared my story of someone who grew up in Chicago. I probably grew up closer to Second City than most people that go to Second City. Like I grew up just a few miles, but I just grew up on the wrong side of the north-south divide,
Mm-hmm.
right? I grew up on the south side, and it does irk me a little bit. Like I literally listened to an improv podcast a few days ago, earlier this week, and the person on it, the quoting them said I grew up in she said I grew up in Chicago, and of course anyone who grew up in Chicago knows about Second City, and I'm like I grew up in Chicago. I never knew about Second City. I had no one. I had to leave Chicago to learn about Second City, right? Somebody told me about it when I moved to Boston, and so that idea, this type of outreach, and the idea of normalizing it and being like, hey, you know what? It's not just a suburban or rich white folk art form. It's for everybody, and we could all do it. And we could all do it. And here's what's important to me as well: we could all do it without having to change ourselves, without me. This is a big part when I was an early improviser, which I often talk about, is that when I was an early improviser, this was late 90s, I didn't know what Monty Python was. I don't know what that is. I still haven't watched most of it. And that's everybody was talking about it. And so for a little bit, I felt the pressure that I had to switch who I was to be a successful improviser. And then
Hmm.
after a while, I was like, no, you are who you are, Will, and people have to accept that, right? And you don't need to switch for anyone.
Yes, one of my favorite musical warm-ups is Hotspot. I'm sure you know it, Will,
Yep.
but it's a game where you just get into the center of a circle with other improvisers. You start to sing a song, and they support you by joining in to sing. Until my first rehearsal with the Black Improv Alliance, I had never in my life had a game of Hotspot where I knew that I could sing anything and everybody knew all the words. I know all the Queen, all the ABBA, all the country music because I live in America and we have to know white culture.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for my entire improv career until then, I will go in and sing one of my favorite songs, and one person might know a couple words, and it'd be a lot of what is this? And I just got used to, okay, all right, I'll just stick with the Taylor Swift because I like Taylor Swift too, and y'all know her whole catalog. But I could do Jodeci, I could do Boys to Men deep cuts, I could do B2K, and it was like right with me, and that was beautiful.
Oh man. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. This makes me really happy. So Charlotte, who we both know, has posted links on on the chat for this interview,
Aw,
to the 100 Black Improvisers, Black Improv Alliance, and to the Anti-Racism for Comedy folks. So
she's
thank
so
you very
sweet.
much, Charlotte. Thank you for helping us out with that. Awesome. This is very fulfilling, not only artistically, but also in regards, socially, and what we're trying to do in the improv world. Any last words before we sign off?
I just want to affirm what you said about being able to be yourself in improv, that it took me 10 years to find these spaces first. Well, actually, I was inspired by seeing Three Pete at the Miami Improv Festival.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
was blew my mind to see a group of all Black improvisers and the freedom that they had and the things they could say and the moves they could make without thinking, oh crap, is this person going to take this further than I want it to go? But then to create my own space like that. And since then, to connect with Crystal Ramser at WIT and the Cookout Collective and Hold Up, and with Ty Coleman, who runs the Blackberry Jam, which is an all Black jam, and with John Gebratatios, who put together the Black and Funny Improv Festival, and to realize, hey, there are other pockets here,
Mhm.
and now we have found each other and are coming together. Has just really affirmed that I can do improv and bring my whole self and compromise nothing, and that's been incredible.
Love it. Love it. Oh, it's gonna be so exciting when all of these different communities come together in person again. Oh, it's just gonna be so great. It's gonna be very moving. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. This was very enjoyable. Again, thank you for sharing your time and your ideas and your energy and your creativity. I know that our students will really appreciate it. The ones that were watching and the ones that will see this recorded. So thank you, everyone who came in and watched and commented. Again, thank you to Stephanie. My name again is Will. We will be having another FST Improv interview next Friday. We'll be having a show in about 10 minutes on our Facebook feed as we go into the FST Improv house party. I do want to thank Matt Walker, our cast member, who provided the pre-show music right before the interview. Thank you very much, Matt, again for your wonderful music. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. My name is Will. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you, Stephanie.
No problem. Thank you.